COVID-19 killed millions of people across the world, and some journalists have spent years asking questions about the origins of the virus. One of those journalists works at this network, Sharri Markson. Her documentary, What Happened in Wuhan, has been viewed more than 13 million times and uncovered critical evidence, including lapsed standards at the infamous Wuhan lab, evidence of live bats being kept in cages when that was being denied, and of course she uncovered the timeline of lab staff getting sick with a mystery flu in the weeks before COVID-19 was unleashed on the world. She was also the first journalist in the world to report on gain-of-function research taking place at the lab. Now, no one is suggesting a lab leak is the 100% confirmed cause of the pandemic, but given all of the circumstantial evidence, it's pretty suspicious. And now we have this development from the FBI in America.
The FBI has for quite some time now assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. So here you're talking about a potential leak from a Chinese government-controlled lab that killed millions of Americans, and that's precisely what that capability was designed for.
Incredible stuff. Now, it is worth noting the troves of journalists who sought to discredit reporting on this, from those at Politico to the entire fact-checking ecosystem which governs what you can see on websites like Facebook. At the time, Donald Trump was still president, and he had mentioned the lab leak theory a couple of times. So naturally, a lot of politically compromised journalists looked at the story with utter disbelief. One of the worst offenders was right here in Australia. The ABC's Paul Barry, who used his taxpayer resources to attack Sharri Markson and the lab leak theory multiple times on his program. Across multiple different episodes that you paid for, he attempted to discredit Markson and the theory in general. Here are some of the highlights.
So how likely is it that the virus escaped from that Chinese lab? Well, in short, it's not.
COVID-19 did not come from lab.
The evidence is overwhelming.
Last month, 2 studies published in Science magazine, after 5 months of peer review, identified the wild animal trade at the Wuhan wet market as ground zero for the COVID outbreak. The siren has definitely sounded on the lab leak theory. He hoped the new evidence would correct the false record that the virus came from a lab. Meanwhile, Sky News host Gary Hardgrave had his own crazy theory about the global health emergency.
This thing has been cooked up, it's pretty evident, cooked up by some mad scientists in China. I don't care what anyone says.
And Paul Barry may now have gone quiet, but we remember this statement he gave The Australian. If the Wuhan lab proves to be the source of COVID-19, we will certainly update our viewers and apologise to Ms Markson for our criticism. And 2GB host Ben Fordham also made this point.
Well, Paul Barry said at the time, conspiracy theories like this are so hard to kill. But according to Chris Wray from the FBI...
The FBI has for quite some time now assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan.
Well, that's what Sharri Markson reported almost 3 years ago. But Media Watch spent 2 episodes discrediting parts of her research. Maybe an apology is in order.
Well, Paul Barry, we are awaiting your apology. Kel, what do you make of it?
Oh, listen, I have a news flash for you. He will apologise, but he's holding up the apology until after he's done the course. The ABC's laid on a special course called sometimes the Paul Barry course. It's about impartiality. So this is what they'll focus on. The word partiality came into English back in the 1600s, meaning part. So when you are not impartial, you were looking at the part, not at the whole. So there he was, very early in the whole piece, and there were lots of different parts about the possible source of this infection, and he decided to look at his part. See, the word impartial is not a word that they really know a lot about at the ABC, hence the course that's coming, which is the really encouraging thing. So I think we need to be of good cheer, and we need to say, yes, Paul Barry will eventually turn around and say, sorry, Sharri, I got that wrong, I shouldn't have said those things, after he's a graduate from the course. When he's got his certificate saying, Paul Barry, you have graduated in impartiality, when he's got that, he will apologise.
Caroline, the thing that I think is just really strange, when you're a journalist and no one in the world knows the answer to one of these stories. And Sharri Markson has never professed to know exactly where the cause was. She's just probing a few links and probing a couple of theories. That's made very clear. No one in the world knows, but somehow Paul Barry knows the answer. He knows, when no one else knows, that it definitely didn't come from a lab.
Yeah, can he pick my lotto numbers as well while he's there? Look, it just shows a total lack of curiosity. It shows a total lack of curiosity, and it shows just a myopic way of thinking, such that because Donald Trump said that it was a possibility, it can't be. It has to be mutually exclusive to what actually happened simply because Donald Trump said it. And I hope there have been a lot of lessons learned here, because in the wash of the pandemic, a lot of the positions that were taken on a whole number of things in relation to things like masks, things like transmission, a whole range of things have all now turned out to not quite be what everyone thought they were at the time, and how emphatic people were at the time. So, Kelly's absolutely right. Perhaps after they do Impartiality 101, they can have number 102, Introduction to Defamation.
Definitely. You won't hear a peep out of the ABC, though, because they have absolutely no accountability. Now, let's move on really quickly, because Lisa Wilkinson has been back in the news, but probably not in the way that you expect.
We love drama. It's the reason we're here on this earth, to create drama.
Now, who here can tell me what the most valuable thing in the world is?
Money?
No.
Gucci? Not quite. Real estate?
No.
Well, I don't know. Check out this beautiful little 8-bedder that just came across my desk.
Ooh, let's talk later. But no, this is something more valuable than any of those.
I think I know what my good friend Lisa Wilkinson is trying to say. The most valuable thing in this world is a voice, which is why...
No. Victimhood. Victimhood is the most valuable thing in the world. It is your currency, and I am here to show you how to capitalize on it.
Stories about heroes? Yuck. This year's school play is all about the victim.
That's right, and we're looking for someone to play the victim. There's a sad, little, useless, pathetic victim in all of you, and I want to find it.
Well, Kel, that's just an excerpt of one of Pauline Hanson's Please Explain comics. Yes. Absolutely brilliant. I looked at that and I was thinking, she really is Australia's Meghan Markle, isn't she? In the way that she uses victimhood almost as an economy.
Yeah, she has, and you know, we've got to have sympathy for her. I mean, her middle name is now alleged. She is now Lisa Alleged Wilkinson, because she's now discovered what happens when a matter is sub judice. You keep putting in the word alleged, don't you, Lisa? You've learned how to do that. So we have to have some sympathy.
Now, Caroline, I want to give the last thought to you. Obviously, Lisa has found herself embroiled in the lawsuit with Bruce Lerman, but it is really the story of a fall from grace, someone who's quite a wealthy media personality, and she's lost her job because of this. It's a lesson to everybody to maybe practice a bit of humility.
Yeah, it is absolutely humility and the basics. You know, we've been speaking this whole show about curiosity and questioning and the basics and not being myopic, and I feel like there's been a fair bit of that. And she's come off. But look, you know, in the end, Jack, she's still got her farm on the lower North Shore, so I'm sure she'll do just fine.
I think you're right. Caroline DeRusso, Cal Richards, thank you so much.